Who was your first robot? Mine was Rosie from the Jetsons, and then very quickly after that, I met C-3PO on the screen for Star Wars. And after that, it was Bishop from Aliens, who was an android technically, but non-human. And then I met Joshua from War Games, which was my first disembodied AI that I experienced as a kid. Joshua almost starts a nuclear war in the movie until he's taught about the futility of destruction, and then he goes back to playing chess and really enjoys that. And then, of course, there was Data in Star Trek, probably one of the best characters of all time. More recently, we've seen some more disembodied AIs. There's been ScarJo in Her, and then there's Ava in Ex Machina, playing with this idea of the AI that we're kind of more familiar with today that doesn't have a body. But even when I was 7 and I met Joshua, I was thinking about, well, do these machines understand us? Can they understand us without bodies? Like, what does this all mean? Does artificial intelligence need a body to be able to think and relate to us? That's not just a sci-fi question anymore. Today, roboticists and AI researchers are asking those exact same questions. We've gotten incredibly powerful AIs now, but they're disembodied. They're language models, large language models. And when you push them into deeper reasoning tasks, they break. Apple recently published this study on large reasoning models. These are LLMs that try to think in steps. And they do okay on the simple stuff, but once it gets too hard, they collapse. They don't just plateau, they literally do worse the more effort you give them. Their thought process starts not being able to follow logic, they're not reasoning, they're guessing the next word. As one AI researcher put it, that's not what you and I do when we think. So here's the big idea that I wrote about for newatlas.com. What if real intelligence doesn't come from a chip or a brain alone? What if it comes from interactions? Interactions of a body with the world. That's what the field of embodied cognition is all about. It says that sensing, thinking, and moving are all part of one system. And brains evolved with bodies. Animal brains, human brains, they all evolved on planet Earth to survive the messy, unpredictable environments here. And so that's where soft robotics comes into the whole question. I talked to Cecilia Lashy. She worked for years on rigid human robots that received all of their information from the brain to the fingertip or the toe or whatever, and then sent it back, constantly sending messages. She switched to soft robotics for a really good reason. And she started with and was inspired by octopuses. Octopi, she realized that these are animals that constantly are using the localized intelligence in their limbs to make decisions, not sending all the messages back to their central nervous system. If you've ever walked on uneven ground and compensated without thinking, or almost tripped but recovered yourself, that's all this kind of embodied intelligence. That's localized information coming from your body and your body making quick decisions. That translates to a lot less computing power needed if you can design a robot that can do the same thing. At UCLA, Jimin He is designing materials that can sense, decide, and act all by themselves. Soft gels, responsive polymers, these just aren't reacting to the world. They're making decisions on how they deform and react. It's called Autonomous Physical Intelligence, API. This huge leap forward means you don't program every decision and reaction. You're actually baking decision making into the body itself, just like us. So the secret to moving artificial general intelligence forward isn't only more computing power and better chips and faster. It's also something that can feel, move, and adapt the way we do. Because we understand the world isn't just through words, like large language models, or screens. I hope. It's through touch, taste, emotion, experience of the real world. So AI may not need to be human per se, but it does need a body, a soft one, and maybe a new way to think.